Hello, folks. Barb Ashcroft here with Renee Poindexter, and we are thrilled to bring you another masterclass. And this time, we're really going to be focusing a lot on leverage. So let me pull up the screens and let me just share so you'll be able to follow along with us. That will be fantastic. Okay, so just double checking, Renee. How does that look? Can you
Looks
see?
perfect.
Okay,
Looks perfect.
I'm just going to put it into mode here. Just a second. I've just got to move a few things
The
out of
show
the
mode.
way.
Yeah.
Just find my.
We just want to welcome everybody to this Expanding Your Borders. This is our second master class, and we wanted to focus a little bit more on entrepreneurship and the topic of leverage, which, is an important piece. People go, leverage. How do you leverage? Well, if you're asking that question, hopefully we'll have it answered by the time the next 45 to 55 minutes. We should have some answers for you. Right, Barb?
Yes, we sure should. And I just have to, I'm getting a few people are having challenges with the passcode. So I may just keep sharing if you don't
Okay.
mind,
No problem.
Renee.
No problem. Yeah.
And
So from the last, if you didn't hear the first master class that we did, there's a recording of it. We'll make sure that you get it. It's okay if you didn't hear it, but this sort of complements that. And together you're going to learn even more by, not only hearing it the first time, seeing it the first time, but then integrating what this is related to that. It's kind of like, Barb, we're learners, right? We're constantly learning. It's as soon as I learn something new, I want to go, how do I apply this? What does this really mean? I sometimes have more questions after a master class than I did before. And that may be true with people here. So we want to make sure that we're serving you. And you even have a Q&A section in here. We may have some time to answer some questions. And if not in this session, it could be in the next class. I'm going to turn it over to Barb Ashcroft. Leveraging by expanding your borders. Barb, what do you have to say about this class?
well, we're excited because this is all about entrepreneurship and being equipped, and especially, plugging into being in the right place at the right time. So, things that you're going to discover are the how-tos, and a big one is how to leverage. That's going to be key. And getting started best tips will really make a difference. So, excuse
Yeah,
me,
I love that picture of the plane, on the global map
mm-hmm.
with adaptability. This whole idea of thinking globally but acting locally is a lot of the theme behind leverage. Because, who would think that there you are over on Vancouver Island and here I am in Portland, Oregon. We leverage each other all the time. And it used to be that I'd have to drive, 6, 7 hours to get to the ferry to take me to one island that would take me to the other island. It could take me all day to see or talk with you, Barb. We're
I
leveraging
know.
technology right now.
We certainly are. And we're still having more people challenged with getting in. So hopefully that will uh, cooperate. My apologies. So we're just having a little bit of technical challenge here, but hopefully we can get that all rolling. Okay, here we go. So topics to be covered today. Obviously, I've introduced myself, Barb Ashcroft, and Renee Beth Poindexter, and we'll tell you a little bit more about us in a minute. Entrepreneurial spirit. This is a good question. Is it acquired or is it a learned strategy? Can you learn it? Is it a skill? Thinking global, acting local, and really focusing on why that's a good strategy. Also, creating resilience to economic downturns. And that's income stability, which makes a big difference. A lifestyle tax advantages, learning how to leverage and what you can leverage, and competitive advantage, future proofing with technology, and some modern day pioneer opportunities. So there's some key steps to getting started. So here's a little bit about us, and obviously that's a lot of words,
Well, let
but
me just introduce you properly, Barb. Barb, it's hard to you've done so much with your life. You're an author, a mentor, and an encourager. You're a thought changer, and you love helping people and supporting them with their health, transform their health. And you've been doing it for over 40 years, helping others find what they need is your driving force, and helping over life speed bumps. I love that because you've got such a great, uncanny sense of humor to help people, learn and grow and, take it not so seriously. So like when your bucket list brings a leak, it's just one example of your humor. And, how do you do a do-over, an undo, or, what are your life preservers for your life in terms of travel, health, and business when they don't go as expected? She's been through a lot and she's learned and found a way to joy, and she helps other people find their top fulfillment needs because she's traveled the path so they can actually gauge their next steps. And she's always looking for people who want to grow, to change their current normal. By the way, what is normal? Why be normal? I think we've been asking that ever since the pandemic, right? So here's the other thing about Barb. She went from a very shy, demure corporate banker to a top position in her relationship marketing company, earning all the top awards and entry into the $1 Million Earners Club. So she knows about transformation personally through self-care, self-love, self-worth, transforming and making a big difference. Barb, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, well, thank you, Renee. It's just such a treat for me to have a comrade in creation, a strategist that loves talking strategy. It's so cool. And I just want to introduce you to the group. Renee, she's the founder of Living the Potential Network, and that's an intergenerational learning community. She's a published author, accomplished teacher, seminar leader, executive coach, facilitator, and consultant. And her experience is in multiple industries. So she comes from a medical background, like healthcare, manufacturing, business services.
It's many lifetimes. I've squeezed many lifetimes into this life.
But also 20 years experience with relationship marketing with a focus on health and wellness. So she provides a really unique approach that I think is so exceptional, which is bring who you are to what you do and get paid to be you. And of course, she has helped many team members plus herself with entrance into the $1 Million Club. So, but that statement says it all, Renee. We're just really blessed to have you here to be able to share your wisdom with the group. And so thank you.
Thank you.
So here we are talking, think global while acting local. We're going to do a little short review on some of the things we shared in our previous masterclass, because these things are worth repeating. So John Maxwell, amazing philosopher and teacher leader, shares one is not a good number. You need a team. So right in your own neighborhood, you actually have a diverse global audience right there. We live in such a time in humankind where there's just so many crossovers with people from all different cultures and countries living together. And it's wonderful to be able to plug into that. I think it's really spectacular. But we offer and suggest a roadmap as a primary asset to, create a foundational system. And of course, we're all about technology. Who isn't about technology these days?
Right.
So we certainly need to be. So that's very key. So again, we're just going to touch over some of these until we get to the next aspect. So, Renee, do you
Yeah, I have
have,
an example. I was just saying that you to people you're going to learn a little bit about if you have an entrepreneurial spirit or not. But the idea is if you align with a global company that allows you to get connected, and you can do it from your own neighborhood and yet be connected globally. It's like, well, how do you do that? Well, one of the things is having a roadmap that's duplicatable that your team can follow and get direction from. And we figured this out between, there's a group of us that have been in this industry for over 40 years. And we found that this technology right now using Zoom is just a godsend. It came right at the right time and so forth. But let's just say building and training locally. I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine lives on an island off off the coast of Vancouver, Canada. Another island, not the same island that Barb lives on, but another island. And she owns a retreat center. It's owned it, it's close to 40 acres and so forth. And she almost lost her retreat center because, for a while there, due to the pandemic, people couldn't fly into Canada or, get on a ferry and she was holding retreats at her retreat center, but no one could come. But because she was associated with a global company, she was able to offer her services, not necessarily retreat services, but other ways of being in service to health and well-being. Let's say, for an example, she has people on the island that are from different countries. I think one is from South Korea that owns a pet store on the island. Another one is, from Australia. Another one is from, France. And they're all on this island, We didn't really pay attention to all the different diverse cultures until she realized, wow, I have so much to learn about the global marketplace. And I have a vehicle where we could work together to help more people take ownership of their health and well-being. So I think that's a good example, Barb, of looking at who's in your neighborhood and how does that relate to a global context. If you have a vehicle that will help you be of service, even if you can't leave your island or people can't come to your island for whatever reason that might be, right?
absolutely. And technology is really the tool that we all plug into. I mean, who would have thought any of this would have been the case? And that's one thing that we've learned to be better at since the pandemic. That's been a real powerful tool for us.
Right.
One of the other aspects I just want to touch on here is why you might want to think global is so many leading companies have what's called a global pool. And that means you have a stake in the company's global pool, and that creates a real target to shoot for.
Well,
And
Barb, you have some example in this example, right? You live on an island, but you were part of a global pool that allowed resources that you helped contribute to that with others that created a share into that global pool that wasn't just based on your effort, but it was the group's effort in a way that rewarded people to work together rather than compete against each other. Is that right?
absolutely. And it's just such a feel-good experience when your counterpart in Indonesia has just had a dynamic month because that's all sales volume that counts for the company's global pool. And then as high achievers, people striving to be in top ranks, then they get a percentage of that. So it totally eliminates the competition factor, that some people have as far as, oh my goodness, wish they were, connected to me. Well, they are connected to you because the global pool is the whole globe,
Yeah, exactly.
wherever the
Yeah,
company has, business. So that's a wonderful thing to shoot for when you've got that.
exactly.
So here we have, have you got the spirit and the desire? Wow. Still seeking, or are you searching, or are you waiting?
Right, exactly.
Like when's it's gonna, happen, or how's it gonna happen, and all of that. And we all
Right.
come into this entrepreneurial arena from different ways. Like for me, um, I was maybe rare, but my parents were both entrepreneurial. And I remember one of the youngest, when I was, still at home, one of the things my dad would always teach is uh, don't work for salary, work for commission on your own, work that you were doing. But it was one of those households where definitely, my dad was a dreamer and he was successful. But it was really my experience of seeing that, and my mom, because she had so many kids and mostly homebound, it was quite hilarious because I mean we knew all of the direct sales people because they were in our house all the time selling my mom stuff. And that was just, well, that was how she could shop. So that was really kind of cool. How about your story, Renee?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I grew up with my father owned a construction company. And many times he had an office in the home, an office in, outside of the home, and did a lot of travel and so forth. So I was interested in what he was doing and how he was doing it. But here's the thing. It was like I was it was back in the day when perhaps if you weren't a boy, I wasn't the son. So I didn't get to
Mm,
learn all those inner secrets like
mm,
perhaps a
mm,
son would learn,
mm,
but I
mm,
learned them anyway by observation.
mhm.
And even though my first career path was as a teacher, what I do in the summer, finally, I earned the, support of my dad to work with water conditioning systems. So I sold water conditioning systems. And I also did some door-to-door, selling for magazines and so forth for the Girl Scouts and so forth. So I learned how to talk to people and listen to what they wanted and then be able to be rewarded for the efforts that I made, which made me, even though teaching was my first career after I left teaching, I've always been pretty much geared towards owning my own business, whether it be coaching or executive search or consulting, to the point where I wanted to have autonomy that would lead to my purpose. And I've been looking for vehicles, to help me be the best me that I could be and be the best service with
Mhm.
no, here it is for the women listening, no glass ceiling. It didn't matter that I was a woman in a man's world, right? I was able to bust through that belief and be one of the top producers in several of the companies I've aligned with. So maybe it was I got that from my dad, but I think in a lot of ways I had to break through and
Mhm.
be the best man before I could really show that I could be as good as a man with looking for those no glass ceiling opportunities.
Mhm. Well, what I love with the type of entrepreneurship we're going to be talking about is a level playing field. It doesn't matter ethnicity, doesn't matter male, female, it doesn't matter age, it doesn't matter education, where you came from. It's a matter of it is a level playing field. You just gotta wanna, you know,
Right,
boils down to
exactly.
those three words, you
Right,
gotta wanna, because
exactly.
the, if your why is big enough, the how will take care of itself. And
Exactly.
and from me, like you introduced me as a very shy, demure person, the thought of me doing public speaking or touring Japan or going to Taiwan or any of that would have been absolutely unfathomable. But when you've got something worth sharing and you have a strong why, then that disappears, right? So, do you want to
Exactly.
talk a little bit about this B quadrant kind of stuff? That
Right. Right. I think in a way, I think both of us have had experience in the corporate world, been an employee. And Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And if you haven't heard of that book, I highly recommend it. Because it basically, if you look at it like a tic-tac-toe board, there's E standing for employee up in the upper left, and then underneath it is S, it stands for self-employed. Then over to the far right on the tic-tac board, over there is B, business quadrant, and the fourth one at the bottom is investor. So the goal is, I started off as an employee, I was a teacher, right? Then I became self-employed and I own my own business, right? But the good news is that you're the boss. The bad news is you're the boss. The boss.
Yeah.
I did not know leverage, Barb. I worked
Mhm.
really hard. I thought the harder I work, the better I do. But for those of us that have learned that sometimes pushing that rock up a hill, it's not necessarily going to get you to the top.
Mhm.
And so I realized I needed systems and I needed tools and I needed resources. And so when I learned about the business model on the far right, Robert Kiyosaki says you need to move from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant, and you can be in two at the same time. So many times I would be self-employed as a coach, but I moved into the business quadrant because I wanted to use systems and tools and resources and leverage other
Oh.
people's support systems that would support me, and I didn't have to do it all by myself. I got leverage. That's the B quadrant business. And then after
Mm.
that happens, it's like they say you can build residual income into your portfolio, your financial portfolio. And residual income is when you get paid over and over for activity that you did one time. So when you're the
Mm.
leverage of a business system and you're getting paid over and over for work that you did one time, but let's say someone gets started on a program, they love it, and it happens every single month and it's a consumable item. Every time that item ships, you get rewarded for that financially. So that
Mhm.
builds exponentially over time to the point where you can leverage your money to be an investor and your money is working for you rather than you working so hard for the money. So what we found through research is a B quadrant business is going to be the place that's going to help set you financially free, but it's not necessarily anything that's taught in traditional education. It comes through personal growth and development. And that's what we have. We have a personal growth program with a compensation package, which is
Mhm.
quite phenomenal.
Well, it sounds like we're going to have to do some master class down the road on B quadrant business because I think
Absolutely.
we need to probably dig deeper on that. In the meantime, people can grab that book, Robert Kiyosaki, and I think that's a good place to begin with that for sure. Now, what we also want to focus on here, this is a bit of refresh as well, is catching the wave of growth. What industry has the best potential? And DSA stands for Direct Selling Association. And this is right from them. And so it's talking about, okay, if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, you might as well align with what people want. I mean,
Mhm.
you can be an entrepreneur in anything, right? So anyway, so what was focused on was wellness, cosmetics or skincare, and household goods as the top demands. And then again, the questions for us to be asking ourselves is what company has expansive growth? What has little or no competition? What's current? Where is growth happening in the world? Remember, we're thinking global, not just in our own backyard. And who's positioned to take advantage of it? And it's got some extraordinary numbers here, but of course, we've already shared this once before, but wanted to focus on this. But I love this slide. Renee, go into this and explain
Okay.
how this works.
Okay. Well, go back to the previous slide for a moment, just for a moment,
Okay.
because we introduced the name of the company that we're aligned with. It's a company called LifeWave. And it says surges ahead of the competition, right? So tracking, we have 40% year over year growth worldwide and ongoing innovation for 19 years. It's like The company is in its 20th year, and what should we say? It is hitting momentum in its 20th year with the newest release of products that are just phenomenal that nobody has access to. Okay, so following the trends, any new product that comes to market, you start to see that. I think about a good example is if anybody are, Macintosh users, Apple advocates, when Apple comes out with a new iPhone or whatever, a new watch or whatever, people are lined up, It's kind of like, shopping at Christmas. It's like people are just lined up. They want to be the first. Those are the innovators and the early adopters. They're the first to get the product, right? And they align with a winning company. And I think of it as an example, another example here in Portland, Oregon is Phil Knight, who's the founder of Nike. He had this brilliant idea, and he would open the trunk of his car and he'd have a waffle iron there with some tennis shoes and stuff. He said, I'm going to show you a new kind of sole that's going to take athletes to the top of their game. And he took the sole and put it on a waffle iron and he goes, this is my new business. And what you need to do is come on board, give me a $2,000 investment, and we're going to really grow this company into a multi-billion-dollar company. Well, some people thought, what? Shoes and waffle irons? I don't know. But the innovators and the early adopters got it right away. So that was 13.5%. And then you can see that this curve moving forward, 34% comes next with the early majority. And the rest of the growth, the late majority and the laggards. Sometimes people have to wait until everybody else has proven it. Articles. Right now, we're seeing like peer-reviewed journals on breakthrough innovative technology in the healthcare industry. They're looking for peer-reviewed journals, which will come about after late majority and laggards. It doesn't always come in early because there's not enough people who have actually experienced it to the degree that the traditional researchers are looking for. But the early adopters and the early majority are getting it and telling their stories. And I think that's a significant part of what LifeWave is doing by bringing the products to market through a network in which people can share the stories in such a way that we can grow that early majority sooner rather than later. And we have some reasons why you might want to do that, right, Barb, with the new expansions globally.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So here is the business model for the 21st century. And it's network marketing. And it's not your grandma's MLM.
Right.
It is a hybrid way of marketing. And what I really appreciate that you had shared once, Renee, I thought it was memorable because you said, if you want a product bad enough, do you care whether Loomis or Perlator or whoever brought it to you? Because network marketing is a distribution system, right? Of getting the product to you, but also getting exposure to enough people that we can share with such conviction to the people that we come across, and have access to the inventor, the formulator, the CEO at the corporate to find out what we need to know. It's not talking to your minimum wage person at Costco or the health food store.
Right, exactly. It's impossible for them to know everything that's on this shelf. And David Schmidt, the founder of LifeWave, made the decision. And it's an interesting story. He didn't really know that the best way to bring the products to market would be through a network. But when he learned about it, and you think about it, everyone listening to this, when you hear about a new restaurant, your friends tell you, oh, you got to try this new restaurant, it just opened. Next thing you know, you want to go. It came through word of mouth. The same thing with movies and books and TV shows and Netflix. It's like, oh, you got to watch this. Okay, it's on your radar screen because someone recommended it. So network marketing, I love the latest term on it. It's called relationship marketing because it's all about the relationship. It's about truth, sharing something that really works, and people see pictures of before and after and they go, I want that. And so these trends are embedded in this relationship marketing. I think about it. You remember, Barb, a few years ago when people said, I'm not going to buy anything online. I don't trust people. I'm not going to put my credit card out there. I want to just go and buy stuff in person. And then it all changed, right? It's like the way in which we do business changed, so it's how there's self-direction of, I just bought an appliance online. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just amazing about what happens when you start to use technology and trust that there's systems that are to keep your credit card safe, and you can buy things from around the world that's drop shipped immediately to your home. That's the new kind of consumer experience online. And this whole idea of how do we interact with social media? What's the stories? What are the reviews? I mean, you go to a restaurant and there's so many reviews. They want you to write a review so that they go up in their standing because they're getting their reputation from the people who are actually frequenting their establishment. So we're interacting, your whole life can be on your cell phone. I mean, just notice people. They're walking down the street, they're on their phone. They're at the restaurant, they're on their phone. Everything is on the phone. So if you can have a global business that's operating on the phone, that supports people in buying what they really want with guarantees, and that you can actually be rewarded by helping people by earning points that actually reduce your costs on the product. And if you decide that you really want to have a global impact business from home, I think that's what happened after the pandemic, Barb. People said, a friend of mine said, I would rather live in a tent than work in a cubicle. I want to work from home. And a lot of businesses are discovering that they can't get their employees to come back to work because they have too much freedom working from home. And that is the lifestyle that people want. But there many times do not know that there's vehicles like we are talking about today that gives them this kind of lifestyle in which they can be rewarded for taking care of themselves, helping other people, and being with the trends. It's just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. So let's check this out. Seeing and recognizing and equally actionable steps. So how's your plan A going? Like you were just saying, the girl would rather live in a tent than in a cubicle. So do they know that there could be a plan B? You know, are they aware that that's a possibility? That's what we're talking about today is leverage. Let's talk leverage. And why, some of the people that say, well, I don't have any time, I don't have any energy, I don't have any money, I don't have any support. Well, I love this next line, and I'll hand it over to you for that one, Renee. I think this is key.
Oh, well, leverage is the problem solver, It's kind of like we call them speed bumps, Barb. You call them speed bumps. When we kind of get like, I've outgrown my container, you can see it when a plant starts to die because the roots need more room. And we as humans, we're part of nature. We're going through our changes, right? And we're starting to feel a little, burned out or what should I say, bored or whatever it is. It's kind of like if your life energy is not going towards the direction of your highest and best hopes and dreams, chances are you're not living the life you chose to live. So, and you could blame it on, I don't have enough time. Well, how many of us have seen people that went from working for somebody else for 40 or 50 hours a week to suddenly working from home, managing their life a little bit differently and having more time because they can integrate their life with their work as opposed to all or nothing. You know what I mean? No time is exhausting for people. And many people, when they give all that they got to work for somebody else, instead of really having the time to pursue their own dreams and what they want, they have no energy. And what are they doing? What are they doing to replace? It's not coffee. You don't need more coffee for energy. There's another way to rebuild and repair yourself to have the energy you need to live your life. And no resources. Well, that's the other thing is like, if you can learn how money can work for you with systems and support, it can change the game. So this is all about leverage and then support. Barb, I didn't even know you, 2 years ago. But now we work together and leverage each other's experience and help way more people than we could ever done it one-on-one, right? So the idea of finding your supportive tribe that cares about the same thing you do with systems that will reward you for your health, serving others, helping others, and getting your time back and your energy, it changes the game entirely.
Mhm.
So I think it's kind of like if you're unhappy dealing with these things, and us coaches, we coach lots of people and they tell us no time, no money, no energy. And what if you needed to change the game you're playing? What might it look like if we put our heads together, use some systems and leverage to help you get what you want? Would you be open to that?
Mhm.
So you are awesome at this, because when people come on board and they go, yeah, I'd like to sort of play together. Let's work together. What's this funnel have to do with anything?
Well, what I appreciate with the way the whole system is built is that there's an overflow where people can get the benefit from uh, all the people, above them on the team. It's teamwork. And so that's what I really appreciate and why I really encourage people to say, come on in, join the team. Because once you're on board, then you'll have secured your position so that you'll be part of that growing momentum. And otherwise, lots of things might uh, pass you by. And I don't think that's necessarily a good, we don't need more FOMO, fear of missing out,
Right,
when
exactly. Exactly. Well, the whole thing, Barb, is sometimes when people are feeling down and out, like life is happening to them, not for them or with them. And it's easy to see since the pandemic, because there's been a lot of people that have just totally, um, what should I say? In some ways, it's given up in some ways. But when we look at it and go, what if you could be resourceful by first taking charge of your health? Because that's it. We can shift the way we feel by the choices we make, and it impacts our mental capacity, our physical capacity, our emotions, our spirituality, and our finances. A lot of times people, don't realize that money is energy, and it has to do with giving and receiving. And that's what tithing is all about. Those of you that are members of churches, then you know that when you give and you receive. And this whole idea of the best way to give, I believe, is to have a self-care program. And that's what LifeWave is all about. It integrating cutting edge regenerative technology to actually slow down our aging process. We don't need to fall apart on schedule, and what a difference that can make.
Mhm. Absolutely. So we are really big on promoting being an early adopter. I learned years ago that people that get involved at the onset of momentum, their business doesn't just grow bit by bit. It has an opportunity to multiply times 18. So instead of waiting to analyze all of the, like, those, what were they called, laggards, that
Right.
have to prove everything first before they get started, why not do your own pilot study? Why not just get into a strategic position so that you can take advantage of that bump in the curve that you saw in the earlier slide? I just think that's so impactful. And not just growing your legacy, but how about living your legacy now? If there was anything we learned with the pandemic, it's like living in the now, living in the now. So back to
Yeah.
you, Renee. What do you
Well,
think?
yeah, I just think that this idea getting started, if you might be thinking right now, okay, this is a privately held company, soon to become $1 billion company. It's going global, has no competition, and really are looking for leaders to help manage the growth. And so from a business minding perspective, you might say, this sounds really great, but I've got a full-time job, right? I don't have time. We go, well, wait a second. You can still become a stakeholder here in a way that you can leverage your interests with a team in a way that supports you getting in position to benefit from the 84% in growth that's about ready to occur as we're on target to open up South Korea, which is a new location that is significant. And I just say, like, what do we know about the Asian markets? You know, Barb, you've traveled, you know more than I. I only know it through online, but you've been there firsthand and in person. What can you speak about it?
Well, it's an a community or a culture that is built around relationships. Relationships are really important. And so that means that when you have a product or service that is genuine, it's helpful, and people are using it, it's like uh, lighting a powder keg because it spreads so quickly because of all the relationship-based cultures. And so that's why Asia, especially South Korea, is noted to be the second top country in the world for relationship marketing.
Right.
And so that's really amazing.
And we have a corporate headquarters for South Korea built and running with a grand opening happening March 22nd. That's not an easy feat either, Barb. Could you speak
No,
to that? Because LifeWave, when I think about it in terms of leverage, it's open in close to 100 countries. It's in its 20th year, on target to become $1 billion company with no competition, opening in one of the biggest markets ever. And that's not easily done, right?
exactly. And you know, that's why people that have bricks and mortar businesses say, well, oh, I don't have the energy, I don't have the stamina, I don't have the wherewithal to be able to expand because they're thinking they've got to do research and development. They've got to do market research, where to go. They've got to do payroll. They've got to do licensing. They've got to do all the legalities for expansion. Guess what? We don't have to do any of that because it's all done by the company. And what they've done, they've already checked out where the best places to go. They've already built the building. They've already created the computer system. They've already created all that we need, and it's done for us.
Okay, so then what we really are up to, this is the part of me that I love. It's the educating, empowering, mentoring network of helping people choose what they want to see for their personal health, for their personal wealth, for their personal community building, whatever is of interest to them. We get really clear about what do you want and how can we help leverage the system. So I think the next slide is going to say even more about how the company
Yes.
leverages. You said
Yeah.
some of these things already, Barb.
Yes.
But the idea is if you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, I've had entrepreneurial spirit since I was 9 years old when I was selling Fuller Brush door to door. Since 9 years old, if you can see me knocking on the door. And then it was magazines. And then, it's kind of like I've had the entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't always have the systems or the tool or the process or the mentors to support me. When I found this industry and I started to learn from the best about how to bring the best of who I am to what we do, and they provided the scientific research, the new product development, the product marketing, all of this. You think about how much it costs to run a company. My partner has a gourmet food company. He's a marketer, he's a distributor, he's the manufacturer, he's got teams of people, they're on the clock, he has to pay them, the vendors. It's like so many headaches that happen in a traditional brick and mortar business. We're talking about a B quadrant business in which all of this is given to us in a way in which we can bring forward the energy of educating and empowering people to take back their health and getting paid to do it. It's like, I don't think, some people will say, Barb, this is just too good to be true, right? Is this a proven business model or what? Are we just making this up?
It's proven, and that is for darn sure. And
Exactly.
we're excited to be part of it. And here is the picture of the South Korea office. And what I love about this, I've been involved in other companies. They could not get into South Korea It only has 115 companies that are licensed for what we do. And we're one of them. And amazing, our leadership is their goal is to be in the top 20 in year one. So if you like excitement, if you like the possibility of growing, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And maybe South Korea isn't where you have your friends. Maybe you love going to Mexico. Maybe you find the very best waiter down there that has entrepreneurial spirit. Wow. And it's all write offable. It's all a write off to do that travel. So so
Right.
here we are, back to where it all begins. So someone thought enough of you to invite you to this presentation. So connect back with that individual and find the info you need to enhance your self-care program. Discover how you can be paid to be healthy and leverage your spirit, your experience, your vision with this amazingly fast, explosive growing company. And I just wanted to bring up one other question that I've got in the chat with someone said, well, I feel kind of awkward, Renee, because I don't know the language. I don't know the culture. So address that aspect of why this local, global
Right.
focus is, please.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. I've been trying to learn Spanish all my life. I can talk to waiters and taxi cab drivers and so forth, but certainly not in these philosophical conversations that you and I have, Barb. So what do? My strategy is I'm looking, and I have found bilingual people that speak English and also speak Spanish. And I'm seeing that they see like, wow, I can actually be the translator. I can be on your team as a translator to help open up a new market. And it's the same thing for Korea, right? It's kind of like, or Taiwan or Vietnam or Japan. I mean, we're close, Germany, France, we're open in so many countries. But the idea is we can learn side by side, leveraging our ability to speak English with bilingual people who not only speak English, but also the language of the country that we're expanding into. And then out of that, it's kind of like people that live locally, can also have the global experience because we have systems, total systems and tools using technology to support the clarity of these new countries that we're opening in. As a matter of fact, when you use the company's technology, a website and so forth, you click on the flag of the country, you get everything in the language of that particular country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my thing is I want to have someone who speaks that language that also speaks English on my team so that we can explore together how to help more people. That's the leverage part and also the
Yeah.
systems part. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Because let's say you want to grow your business in South Korea, but you don't know Korean. And but you do know some North American Koreans that have contacts and family and friends there. Doesn't it make more sense to be the education arm and cultivate that individual that's living here, maybe in even close proximity to you, maybe even your dry cleaner down the road, and to be able to cultivate them so they understand the process, they understand the products, and they know the system. And then they can do the outreach to their myriad of South Korean friends. And so that's the true value of leverage.
Right, right.
Us trying to find 50 individuals in Korea that we have to worry about the time zones and all of the things to
Right.
help do that. So
Right. Well, I think that's a really good point because the other part is, like I said, back to my friend who lives on an island in the San Juan Islands. There's many people that are Asians that live on that island. And I know also throughout Canada, I think we were looking at one particular area specifically. It's like there's a lot of people from different countries who live there that would love to know about this model, because it's not just networking with the people who live in the other country, it's about the people who are from that country that live in your locality, right? And they just love family and bringing people together and being of service. And I think also being cutting edge in the wellness industry. There's something about, I have to do a little more research on this, but I think there's some island somewhere in Asia where the oldest living human beings are, and people are studying them and go, what are they eating? How are they living pain-free and so healthy? They're interested in health. You know, certain cultures are more interested in health and well-being, including skincare, which is, skin is your largest organ. And we just have some really amazing cutting edge products that no one else has. That we got your curiosity today. What should people do, Barb, in terms of next steps?
Well, hopefully, what I'd love them to do is reach out to who invited you. Absolutely, positively. Find out, ask questions that you need to ask, but definitely get plugged in so that you can be at the beginning of that curve. And then just to be able to go from there. It's just, like we said, if your why is big enough, the how will take care of itself. And the whole aspect that we have a system, a profound system, a successful system, then that's what we want people to be aware of. And so that they don't need to know what they don't know. We'll take care of that with the education arm of what we have.
Exactly. And back to the question, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? What's your answer on that, Barb? Final answer for, I know your story, but what about the people listening here? They don't know whether they have that spark or not. How would you know?
Well, I think if people are willing to learn, if they're teachable, that makes all the difference in the world. If they're figure they already know everything that needs to be learned, then no. But I think anyone can develop the skills of being an entrepreneur. You just gotta wanna.
Right. So there's the idea, if you feel like you're that root-bound plant and you've outgrown your container and you're looking for something, and it doesn't matter how old you are. I just turned 74 yesterday, but I'm with this company that's helping me age backwards. Do you know anyone that might want to be a part of that? You know, people go, whoa, I think I want that too. Because you know what? That's inevitable. You know, if we continue to move through time, one more trip around the sun, one more trip around the sun. So growing older is a given, luckily pain-free, but aging is optional. And I think that's the other key piece when we think about self-care, self-worth, self-love, transformation, community building, and to do it with that spark that you know that if you could bring you to an amazing group who would love to have your gifts and talent, we can grow together and create a world that works for everyone, not just a few at the top. It's money for the many, not money for the few. It's a pleasure working with you, Barb. Thank you so much for
And
having me with you
and
today.
you too, Renee. Thank you so much for availing this time. I know all the attendees have benefited greatly, and we will be having this as a resource, as a masterclass number 2 for those folks that were unable to attend. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm
All
just
right, everyone. Thank you.